Integrate findings, synthesize rather than just summarizing studies. Part 1, The Importance of Synthesizing Literature in Chapter 2, a well-structured Chapter 2, review of related literature, does more than just summarize existing research, it critically synthesizes findings to establish clear connections between past studies and the current research problem. Synthesizing means analyzing multiple sources together, identifying common themes, contrasting different perspectives, and highlighting research gaps. This approach ensures that the literature review is not just a collection of summaries but a cohesive discussion that supports the study's framework. To integrate findings effectively, researchers must look for patterns, contradictions, and gaps across different studies. For example, if a study on blended learning in vocational education finds that digital tools improve student engagement, Smith, 2022, while another study argues that technical limitations hinder effectiveness, Garcia, 2023, a synthesis would compare these contrasting perspectives and identify potential factors influencing the differences. Key strategies for synthesizing findings include thematic categorization, organizing research into themes rather than listing studies one by one. For instance, if a thesis examines the impact of e-learning on skill development in technical vocational education, it could structure findings under themes such as student engagement and motivation in online learning, effectiveness of e-learning tools in vocational training, challenges and barriers in digital education, comparing and contrasting findings. Instead of merely stating what each study says, highlight similarities and contradictions between sources. If one study suggests that augmented reality improves vocational training outcomes, but another finds high costs as a barrier, the literature review should analyze these findings critically rather than simply summarizing them separately. Identifying research gaps, synthesizing findings helps uncover unexplored areas that justify the need for the current study. If many studies focus on university-level e-learning but fewer explore technical vocational settings, this research gap strengthens the relevance of the study. By integrating findings rather than simply summarizing them, researchers provide a more meaningful discussion, making Chapter 2 a strong foundation for the thesis. Part 2, Techniques for Effective Synthesis in Literature Reviews. To achieve a high-quality synthesis in Chapter 2, researchers must not only compare studies but also interpret and connect findings in a way that builds a logical argument. A synthesized literature review demonstrates a deep understanding of the topic by drawing conclusions based on the analysis of multiple sources. Several techniques can help effectively integrate findings, using transition words and comparative phrasing. Connecting different studies requires smooth transitions to indicate relationships between findings. Some useful phrases include, similarly, studies by X and Y highlight that. Showing agreement, however, in contrast to A's findings, B argues that. Showing disagreement, building upon previous research, C extends the discussion by. Showing progression, for instance, a study on AI-driven learning in technical vocational education may find that machine learning enhances personalized learning experiences, Lee. 2021, while another study warns about ethical concerns in AI-based assessments, Rodriguez, 2022. A synthesized discussion would not just list these findings separately but rather compare, contrast, and connect them. Using concept mapping or tables, a concept map or comparative table can visually show relationships between studies, making it easier to integrate findings. For example, a table summarizing research on e-learning in vocational education could organize studies by author, year, key findings, and limitations, linking studies to research questions. The literature review should clearly show how existing studies relate to the research problem. Instead of listing sources separately, researchers should explain how each study contributes to understanding the research topic. For example, in a study about the role of virtual simulations in vocational training, an integrated discussion might look like this. Research by Brown, 2020, suggests that virtual simulations enhance practical skill development by providing hands-on experience in a controlled environment. This aligns with Garcia, 2021, who found that students using VR simulations performed better in real-world assessments. However, Lopez, 2022, highlights that some students struggle with VR technology due to accessibility issues, suggesting that implementation challenges must be addressed. This approach ensures that the literature review is analytical rather than descriptive, creating a strong foundation for the research's theoretical and conceptual framework. By effectively synthesizing findings, Chapter 2 becomes a well-organized and insightful discussion rather than a mere list of past studies. This strengthens the overall credibility of the thesis and demonstrates a deep engagement with the research field. Final thoughts: a literature review should synthesize, not summarize. By categorizing themes, comparing findings, identifying gaps, and linking studies to research questions, researchers ensure that Chapter 2 provides a strong academic foundation for their study. If you like this kind of content, click subscribe to be updated on the next video. Thank you for watching.